Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, and the Philadelphia Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the STT Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, what a difference a week can make in baseball. It sure happened to the Phillies. Coming off 2 miserable weeks, they've now won 6 of their last 8 since. The NBA draft is now a week away, with some noise that the Sixers might want to move up from number 3 to number 2. That's interesting. Eagles OTAs are over, and so it's vacation time for everybody. The good news, no reported injuries. That's something certainly good. And, hey, we're going to talk some music tonight with one of your favorites. We have plenty to talk about, as always, in Philly sports.
Yeah, and mostly good news, which is, really nice. I mean, Harper and Nola are still injured, and Casty got nasty with the manager the other night and got suspended. But all in all, they've been playing much better ball over the last week and a half or so. And, Bill, we know you are all excited about the 76ers. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of nice things to say about them.
Well, I always do. But, hey, we have a couple great guests tonight. We're going to talk a lot about the Sixers with our friend making a return visit, Philly.com Sixers beat writer Keith. Thanks for Saquon Pompey, and musician David Uosikkinen joins us as well.
Yeah, drummer extraordinaire Dave Uosikkinen, and you were so close, Bill, so close. He is with the great Philly-based band, the Hooters, and he also drums for the In the Pocket Music Project and 3 or 4 other bands to boot. Meanwhile, our pal Keith will tell us how the Sixers are going to turn things around and get all of us fans back in the franchise's good standing.
Well, I had to throw that opening jab at Keith just because Keith's a good sport. So let's welcome Keith Pompey back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Keith, welcome, and thanks again for sending Saquon down I-95 for free.
Oh, you're welcome. But you know what? I was about to laugh. In your intro, you guys have on like the Eagles gear, and I was thinking for Christmas, I'm going to get you guys some Giants jerseys because I think, the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I hope.
Oh, Keith. Hey, listen, I know it's been a while. We're glad to have you back because we're going to talk Sixers, but I got to be honest, I've been kind of depressed about them. I'm having trouble getting pumped up to even talk about them, but hang on. I have someone who is going to help me.
Okay, come on now, Chet. Show them what you got.
Yeah. I'm ready. I had to do that. All right, let's get to it. Thank you, Doris. For real now, the past 10 months, Keith, as you know, have not been very pleasant for Sixers fans like myself. What was it like for a guy who was the beat reporter, who was there every day for the way too many losses and the every other day injury news?
It was weird because it was kind of like a step back in time. But to be honest with you, I felt like it was worse than the process years because you look at it and you say, wow, the 76ers were supposed to, go to a championship. And now we're looking at it and they did all this rebuilding. They had all this hope and everything. And now this team is like worse than when TJ McConnell and them were like playing. You know what I mean? So to me, it was a little I guess the best word to say is disappointing or devastating, not for me, but just for the fans and everyone else, because they went backwards and it was bad. To me, it was worse than the process, to be honest, because at least in the process, you had hope. There was no hope this season.
Keith, I kind of felt sorry for Nick Nurse at times. It almost looked like when he was doing his press conferences, it's like he didn't know when he came to the arena who was going to be able to play tonight. And it just looked like it was painful. And I don't know if he's a good coach or not, because we certainly didn't get a chance to tell.
I agree 100% with you. I mean, here's the thing. He caught a lot of criticism. The one thing that I will say about Nick Nurse is when they made the James Harden trade and they brought those guys in, and people thought the guys from the Clippers 2 years ago, not this season, but the season before, everyone was like, oh, they're going to get rid of them. But they had it. They were in sync. They were playing well. And then all of a sudden, Joel Embiid gets injured and things fall off the rails, right? And then this season was just, man, anything that could have gone wrong happened. And people were extremely critical of the coach. But as I kept telling everyone, I don't care if you were Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, if you were like any coach, Pat Riley, you wouldn't win a thing here because of like the team was just so depleted. And then another thing he got criticized for was because of, his always arguing fouls, because of his rotations. But you remember when he became the coach here, everyone said they loved him because of his tenacity. They loved him because he thought outside the box. Well, the difference was you're doing it with guys who shouldn't be in the game, as opposed to when you were in Toronto, you had a couple all-stars and you were able to do it. So, yeah, he has yet to be able to show what he really can do for the Sixers, and I felt sorry for him as well.
Hey, Keith, with all of the injuries to the team and the off-the-court drama, did Tyrese Maxey's development take a bit of a hit last season?
I think it did a little. Yeah, I think it did. And from the standpoint where I just felt like he didn't have any help. Now, here's the thing. When you look at it, Tyrese Maxey, he did average a career high in points, right? Of course, he averaged career high in minutes, but he also averaged a career high in shot attempts and turnovers per game. So I felt like it was one of those things where there was so much on Tyrese Maxey's plate to whereas he may have got exposed at certain times, you know what I mean? Just being out there. And he really didn't have a lot of help, so it was all on him. So, yeah, you can say that it wasn't really development. It was just so much easier to guard him when you needed to in the clutch because there was just not a lot of other people out there to help him.
Well, Keith, they're tied up with these three big contracts. If you're sitting in the GM seat, you have the number 3 pick, you've got these 3 contracts, you got to have somebody that can help now. What do you do?
It's weird. Like if you're the 76ers, to me personally, I feel like I know a lot of people don't like them. But I think I would go after Ace Bailey just because he has the biggest upside, right? And I feel like in the right situation, he's going to be a star, right? Aside from that, I think that if I'm the 76ers, I'm trying to trade down. And the guy that I like is Con Knipple. And the reason being is because I feel like he's the best shooter in the draft. I also feel like he at 6'7", 217 pounds, he's a quality plug-and-play player for them, right? He'll be ready to go and plug and play. But also, if you trade down, the hope is that you'll also get an additional first-round pick. So that will help you out with some other avenues. Just to me, these other guys, yes, they are good, but I don't know if anyone would really in that other top 5 is going to help you get over the hump in regards to winning the championship.
Hey, Keith, your colleague at the Inquirer, Mike Sealski, wrote a piece the other day saying basically stay away from the 2 Rutgers guys because the team didn't make the tournament. They actually had a losing record. So that's not good. What do you think of that?
It's weird because you can make that argument, but then you look at Anthony Edwards. When Anthony Edwards was at Georgia only won 3 SEC games, and they had a struggling record. You look at Jalen Williams at Santa Clara, I think, they were a struggle in that league that they were in. And we're talking about a mid-major program. I think that when you look at Rutgers basketball and you see that this is a team that I think that only had like maybe 8 winning records in the 8 winning seasons in the last 30. A team that only made 8 NCAA tournament appearances. And you look at it and you see that all the people who left because of the transfer portal when these two guys came, I think it's not fair. Now, again, I love Mike. That's my guy. And that's a great argument to have. But again, there's a lot of guys who played in college and their teams were trash, right? And then you look at Rutgers. I mean, think about it, guys. We're from this area. There's like 7 other schools that I would go to before I went to Rutgers. I would go to LaSalle before I went to Rutgers. And that's not a knock on LaSalle. I'm just saying it's in a smaller conference, and where Rutgers is in the Big Ten, I just wouldn't go there, in my opinion.
Keith, what's the status of Joel Embiid at this point? We're in the off season. Can we expect him to come back healthy at all, or I mean, you can't move on from his contract, I guess. What can we expect from Embiid?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, I wish I had the answer to it. It's one of those things where, they said that he was going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks. This was a week before the season concluded. And it's been 2 months and we haven't heard anything. When you talk to people, like, they say, yeah, everything is going well. They expect him to, be back at the start of the season. But y'all remember it was the same thing last year.
Yep.
Where it was, and it's like he played in the Olympics, everything was great.
He's ramping up.
Sudden, huh? Yeah.
He's ramping up.
He's ramping, exactly. And then we find out his knee was swollen, right? Yeah. So then, and then he doesn't want to play. So to me, I mean, that is a great question. It's $1 million question, but it's one of those things that we're really not going to get a real answer until he's out there on the floor. And I have a feeling they may say, hey, look, just because of in the past, he really doesn't like play in the preseason. So we may not even figure that out until the season opener, unfortunately.
Wow.
Well, speaking of Embiid, let me get your reaction to this. Charles Barkley last Friday was on with Mike Missinelli on 97.5, and he had this to say about Joel.
I think Joel's a nice kid, but I think him being not in the best conditioning is one of the reasons he's always been hurt. I really think this. If Joel had had a real coach from the beginning, I think his career would be totally different. I think if he had like a real coach from the beginning, like a Billy Cunningham, who held him accountable, I think he would have been the greatest player in Sixer history.
What do you think, Keith?
I mean, that's kind of telling, right? And Charles, it's kind of right. I mean, back then it was when Joel came here, I remember it was one of those things where you got Joel Embiid, you have Nerlens Noel, you have Michael Carter Williams. I mean, they were treated like they were LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. And then the veterans were treated like they were rookies, right? So there was nobody holding these guys accountable. I felt like, Brett Brown wanted Sam Hinkie to hold him accountable, but Sam Hinkie wanted Brett Brown to hold him accountable. And what that did is it's kind of like, when you're raising a child and you let the child do whatever they want, but then when the grandparents come over, you're telling the kid you can't jump on the couch anymore. Well, at that point, it's too late. That's what they've been doing. And I feel like with Joel Embiid, Charles Barkley is 100% right. I mean, it was a culture where they enabled him to do what he wanted to do. He didn't really have to practice if he felt like he had a boo-boo or something like that. And it's just now you look at it and you can't get that back. You just can't get it back, especially a 7-time All-Star, an MVP. And the one thing that we're not talking about is he has over, around $250 million left on his contract, guaranteed. So good luck with all that. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, as we sit here today, what's the Joel Embiid legacy? It can't be. I don't know. He's a great player when he's on the court.
It would have to be underachieved, right? I mean, it would have to be because, it's Joel Embiid is going to if his career was over right now, Joel Embiid will go down as the only MVP who hasn't gotten out of the second round, right? You know, Joel Embiid has yet to play an injury-free season, right? I mean, if we're going to be real, he has yet to do that. So, you know, if people will look at him as just like they look at Yao Ming, I hate to say it, they're going to look at him and say he has so much potential. He could have been this guy, but because of injuries, because of conditioning, and that's different than Yao Ming, he never lived up to be the player that he could have been.
Hey, Keith, getting back to the draft, you're okay with Ace Porter, but there is some speculation the Sixers might consider VJ Edgecombe of Baylor, the 6'4", 6'5" shooting guard. What do you know about him? What do you like about him or not like about him?
You know, here's the thing about VJ, and you know, the thing is, you know, he is extremely athletic, powerful. He's a tenacious defender. He's also a guy who improved his shot. You know, before, you know, unfortunately, like you get these labels where you get a guy like him and people say, well, is he a good basketball player or is he a great athlete? You know, for a while, he was recognized more as a great athlete. So now he's getting into his own. I like him. The only question mark that I have is, and I get it, is one of those things where you want to build your team and you go after who you deem is the best player available, right? But also we're talking about a team where they're trying to win. And I look at it as if you get him and you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Jared McCain, well, are you going to bring back Quentin Grimes? You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen? And then you also have Lonnie Walker. Now, again, I'm not saying he's in that level, but he's in the rotation. So how many guards are you going to throw out there when you have so many other positions of need, right? So if you go after him, that's ideally you think that you wouldn't bring back some other guys, right? But so I do like him, but I also think that he needs to continue. He's made strides, but he still needs to continue to work on his shot, right? And if that way he can be a quality 3-and-D defender, 3-and-D player, but at the same time, that's a loaded position for me.
Keith, it's pretty obvious Cooper Flagg will be the number one pick to the Mavericks, but a lot of speculation, Dylan Harper, another Rutgers guy, shooting guard, is that number 2 guy in most mock drafts. Do you see it going that way? And there's some scuttlebutt about maybe the Sixers wanting to trade up to that number 2. Is that to get Harper?
Yeah, that would definitely to get Harper, because when you look at this draft, there's only 2 guys that they say are can't miss. You know, as much as I like Ace Bailey, you know, there's a lot of red flags about him, right? So you got to do your due diligence to get him. Now, when you look at Dylan Harper, you know, the Spurs really like him. Now, in order for the 76ers to get him, they're going to have to give up a lot of picks for him. I mean, we look at these trades. You look at Baines to get, you know, he goes to Orlando, Desmond Baines. People are like, what the heck is going on? Because they gave up 4 unprotected first-round picks. Now, if they know that the 76ers really want this guy, they're going to ask for the bank. They're going to ask for a lot to move up one spot. And if they don't give them a lot, then they're just going to take them and draft them. So to me, there's too much to give up. Now, the one thing that I will say is that the Spurs like him a lot, even though they do have a point guard in De'Aaron Fox, but they like him because they feel like even though he's a point guard, he puts them in mind of James Harden, meaning with the size, the weight, and his ability to finish at the rim. But also nowadays, there's a lot of teams who are out there playing 2 point guards, 2 guys. And then also they feel like, you know, he could be an asset just like De'Aaron Fox years from now that they could trade and get more picks for whoever isn't the star. So, yeah, I think that's a tough ask of the Sixers in regards to moving up and getting him.
Hey, Keith, one last Sixers question from me. Coming off his left knee meniscus tear that cost him most of his rookie season, which was a pretty good rookie season, what is the outlook now for Jared McCain this coming season? How's his health, and how's he going to be utilized?
I think we'll see him in the same way, like depending on who they go out and get. Now, my thing is, I think that ideally, if you have Jared McCain and you have Tyrese Maxey, you want to pair one of them, and the guy you're going to pair with is Tyrese Maxey with a bigger guard. You know what I mean? A guy that's taller who can be more of a defender and stop things. And help out with the defense. In regards to his health, it seemed like, remember when he had the surgery, it was one of those things where initially they talked about it like, okay, do we want him to come back or not? The doctor said it might be best for you to take your time and do things. But he's a guy that, talking to them, that he's more in line to be back at the start of the season and play this year. So they're really optimistic about him, a younger player. But they feel like his role is kind of going to be similar. When he comes in, he's going to get buckets. He's out there. He takes advantage of mismatches. He's going to shoot the ball. He's going to be an energy guy and someone that the fans are going to be excited about.
Keith, one final question before we run out of time. What did it feel like seeing Saquon Barkley rush for 2,000 yards and hoist the Lombardi? Just wondering.
You know what? It's funny. Like,
you knew that was coming, Keith.
I knew it. But as I always say, like I say, on Facebook, I hate the guy. It's like, now he's playing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Saquon. I'm happy for Saquon. To me, that was an embarrassment by the Giants. Like, first of all, you guys, they did him wrong. Like, they kept giving him a franchise tag. They thought that because he was a running back, he wasn't going to get a lot of money. And the worst part about it is it's like it was an embarrassment on TV, the way the whole thing goes down. Yeah. But the more that you think about it, I blame ownership. And the reason why I blame ownership is because if you were so disappointed that he went to the Eagles, and not only did he go to the Eagles, he won the Super Bowl and now is regarded as like one of the greatest running backs of all time. Why didn't you fire the other two? Why didn't you fire the coach or the GM? So that's telling me that the owner just didn't want to pay him, right? And now they're like they're screwed because of it. But that's on him. That's on the Giants. But I do think that Saquon's going to take an L when they go to North Jersey this year.
Glad you have a sense of humor. Hey, Keith, last thing. NBA Finals. Does Oklahoma City wrap it up Thursday night? And how happy are you to see TJ McConnell playing a big role for the Pacers? I know you like him. Oh, yeah, I like him a lot. Well, here's the thing. I do think that they're going to wrap it up in Game 6. The reason being is, and I get it, they're going to play with a lot of energy, but I feel like Halliburton, when he's hot, he's been the difference. And right now they're talking about he's questionable. I don't know. Even if he does play, you think that they're going to have to shoot him up and give him some stuff. I don't know how good he's going to be. But TJ McConnell, I feel really good about him. It's funny, before the finals, he called me. He called me on I believe it was a Sunday, and he was leaving practice. And we talked about it. I interviewed him for a story, but I'm really happy for him because I remember when he was the 5th string point guard, and now you look at him and he's close to winning the championship. He won't get it, but I feel happy for the guy. I'm really pulling for him. Yep.
Keith, on the way out, do you have any special coverage you're going to be doing for the draft? Anywhere people can follow what you're doing, what's going on? Let us know.
Love your podcast. Love the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Mark is a good dude, Mark Farcetta. So basically, I will be at the draft on both days. Was it Wednesday and Thursday? But you could follow me on my podcast, Locked On 76ers podcast with Mark Farcetta. You can also follow me on X at Pompey on Sixers, on Blue Sky at Pompey on Sixers, and also Threads on Pompey on Sixers as well. And read the stuff on Inquirer.com.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, Keith, as always, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. And I appreciate you taking my jabs because I like to give them to you.
That's all right. Y'all gonna take an L this year.
All
I
right,
don't even
buddy.
believe it. I don't even believe it. Bye.
All right,
Thanks, man.
Keith.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
See ya.
All right, Chet. Philly Pressbox Radio is now part of the STT Sports Network, as in Set the Trends. It's a network set up by our pal, Phil Stifel, host of the terrific Trending in the AM show that you can find every weekday morning on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel. Check out Phil and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Phil's show is on there, and so is ours. Yep. You can find Philly Pressbox Radio there, in addition to on our own YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. Again, it's the STT Sports Network, setting the trends for what sports talk should be. Hey, Chet.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on at the Irish Rover Station House. Did you make it over there for Father's Day car show?
They postponed it. They had to postpone it because the stinking weather up here in New Jersey and Pennsylvania has been awful pretty much every weekend. So they made a last-minute call first thing Sunday morning to postpone it. But the good news is today they rescheduled it. It's going to be the first weekend in September, not Labor Day weekend, because Labor Day weekend is actually August 30th, 31st, and September 1st. So September 7th will be the car show. And there's no Eagles game that day because the Eagles will have played on Thursday night, September 4th. So there you go. Now, regarding the Rover, otherwise, you know this place, the Irish Rover Station House, Langhorne, PA. I was there last Thursday, had some of their terrific wings. Sweet and spicy, always my go-to for wings. The Rover has killer burger Thursdays too. Dinner specials Thursday through Sunday. Happy hour deals Monday through Friday. I took advantage of that for my wings and beer, saved a little money. And a $5 Sunday Fun Day menu as well. Check this place out if you haven't been there. Always 24 beers on tap, by the way. Yeah, check it out. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can find them on the web at IrishRoverStationHouse.com. And let's today go with this guy.
Hey, I'm John Brazier, Director of Fun and Games of the Fighting Phils. Speaking of fun, you're hanging with Bill and Chet on Philly Pressbox Radio. Go Phils.
There you go. Thanks, John. Hey, Chet, you had a chance to sit down with one of your favorite local musicians, David Uosikkinen. How'd I do?
Pretty close. Uosikkinen.
There you go. That's what I said. Tell us what David has going on this summer and more. I do know he's very busy.
Yeah, he is a busy guy indeed. Later this week, he and his bandmates will be flying to Europe for a 6-week tour that'll take them to 4 different countries over there. He's been working on a new album with a trio that he's part of with Quentin Jones and Kenny Aronson called QDK. His terrific group of musicians that make up the In the Pocket Project will be doing a show at Ardmore Music Hall in September. There'll be a couple of just announced Hooters shows in suburban Philly in late October at the Keswick. But man, Dave told me that one of the things he's looking most forward to will be a visit or two to Eagles training camp in August. He is indeed one busy guy, and you'll find that out when we watch his chat. Now, we do have about, 15 seconds while that loads. So Dave is a great guy. Enjoy. Very happy to welcome this guy back for another visit. We chatted previously in 2019, then again in 2022, and now with the Hooters celebrating their 45th anniversary, believe it or not, it's the perfect time to do it again. A chat with the fantastic drummer from not only the Hooters, but also Smash Palace, QDK, the Bar Band, and the great Philly music project In the Pocket. David Uosikkinen. Dave, how are you?
Chet, I couldn't be better. I'm doing great. I was down the shore for a couple of days and just doing nothing. I ate a lot and I read a lot, and it's just setting me up to go on the road. Like as you mentioned, the Hooters celebrating the 45th anniversary, and we're leaving on Saturday for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
The usual stops, but we're playing, we've never played in Greece. So we're playing a show in Athens, which has got me pretty excited about doing that. There we are.
Good looking bunch of humans right there.
Yeah, we're still hanging in there,
I saw you in the Hooters once again, just about a month ago at the Met, your first time there, coincidentally.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it was as good or maybe even better than the previous 5 times I've seen you guys. And not only is the talent still totally there with the band, it's obvious that you guys are still having a blast doing it.
Yeah, that was a really good show. I mean, I think part of it was I've been to the Met. I saw Crowded House at the Met a couple of years ago, and but I didn't. I was in the audience, and I didn't go backstage or anything. But the Met is such an amazing one. The theater, I think, was built in 1908. Beautiful balconies. It's just an astonishing place. So being on that stage for all of us was just. We play a lot of different stages, but that was like really exciting. We had Jay and Mike Bone and Mike Cappy with us on the horn section, and it was a great night. It was fun, and I think a lot of had to do with just playing the Met, and we had a great crowd. It was nearly sold out, so it was a terrific night for us.
Well, as I mentioned, it's been 45 years now for the band. Rob and Eric started the Hooters in 1980. The first album, Amore, came out a few years later. But even before the first record came out, the Hooters were picked to open up a show at good old JFK Stadium in September of 1982, a show headlined by The Who that also featured Santana and The Clash.
Yeah.
You were in your mid-20s at the time. And we do have a picture that your friend sent you. Any memories about being there on a bill with these legendary acts? Wow.
Yeah. Well, you can't see this. I'm on the drums there, and sitting behind me, my drum tech was to my right, and Carlos Santana was sitting to my left. He sat there the whole show and watched us play because we were doing, the guy, I mean, of course, he's got the Latin clave influence, and my band, the Hooters were playing a lot of ska reggae, and he was really into it. But he didn't leave. I mean, we only played about at best a half hour. He sat the whole time behind me. Now, listen, it was a bit intimidating, but at the same time, it gave me juice. Opening for The Who and The Clash, and I remember watching Joe Strummer get his hair cut. Forget the guy's name that cut his hair, but he got the mohawk before he went up and played. And we played that day. I think we went on stage around, you could see it, I think around 11:30. We stuck around, and the Santana played after us, and then The Clash. And then we had to leave because we had another show in Richmond, Virginia, which was a 5-hour drive. We were leaving in the van, and I was sitting on the cases watching The Who walk on stage to do their show. I'd never seen him play that day. It was an exciting day. Oh, hung out with Mick Jagger that day too.
There you go, right there.
With Mick, yeah. Well, Mick came as a guest. He's obviously, great friends with the Pete Townsend. And I remember Larry Maggot came backstage with Mick Jagger and his daughter Jade. It was about 10 a.m. in the morning. And, like seeing Mick Jagger up close, it was like you're looking at a cartoon character. It was just amazing. I'm a big Stones fan. So it was pretty mind blowing. And if you look at the picture good enough, you see me having a Heineken in the morning, which I don't do anymore. But it was 9:30 and I was having a beer. Yeah, I have a Heineken in my hand.
That is very cool.
Nervous a little bit, but it was the coolest thing hanging around. And Mick couldn't have been nicer. And
here we are in 2025. And as you said, you guys are still putting out new music. The album Rocking and Swing 2 years ago, the new single that you mentioned, Pendulum, just last month, which you premiered at that show at the Met.
Tally ho! And we dance if we don't tally ho! And we dance if we do tally ho! Yeah, whatever it brings, the pendulum swings for me and for you.
By the way, that is your friend and mine, Willie Nile, on stage with you guys. He, of course, co-wrote Pendulum with Rob and Eric. I'm a big fan of Willie. You got to love him. And I'm sure it's fun to play new music now, too.
Yeah, that one was really new, too, because we just recorded it. Other than the feel of the song, I had to learn the parts of the song that day. So somehow pulling it up. But playing with Willie, as you mentioned, Willie is he's just such a mensch. There's no other way to put it. He's just the sweetest guy, and he's so talented, and he's got so much juice that it's just great to get on stage with him, hang out with him before the show. And he's just an ultimate performer still. And so it was really exciting. That even made the night even better for us.
Yeah. Well, Dave, not only are the Hooters celebrating an anniversary, so too is your In the Pocket project. You began that, a celebration of Philly music 15 years ago, and we'll celebrate that milestone with a show at Ardmore Music Hall in late September. Man, lots of talent to be on the stage over the course of the evening. For folks who don't know, tell them about In the Pocket.
In the Pocket project is basically something my wife Dallin and I thought of when I moved back here about 15 years ago, a little over 15 years ago. The Hooters were touring, but we weren't a year-round band anymore. We'd go away in the summer, maybe do some dates in the fall, and there would be some dates we would do. But it wasn't like the old days where I'd be living out a suitcase. So as a full-time musician, I was looking for something to do. And when I moved back to Philadelphia, it was so different from the time, because I lived in the Southern California for 20 years. When I came back here, Philly seemed like a different place. It was after the Phillies won their World Series in 2008. And, there was a whole different vibe there. And I started thinking about how Philly music inspired me as a musician. And because it's such a melting pot of sounds and styles. And that's what makes Philly so cool. Philly International, the Philadelphia Folk Festival, the jazz that came out of this, and then the rock and roll too. So I wanted to honor the songs that made me who I become. So I used to write about music for a music technology company I was working for. And I called it In the Pocket. My friend Guy Eckstein actually coined that name. And I just kind of moved it over and started recording these songs, essential songs of Philadelphia picked by me. And, different genres. We did punk rock girl. We did Backstabbers. We did songs by Todd Rundgren. It's that kind of thing. I tried to record The Twist recently, but Chubby wasn't having it. It was the first time I had anybody that I wanted to honor that was like, not now.
Wow.
Well, it was weird. Listen, man, I understand sometimes, but at some point, I'd like to honor that guy because of what he's did for rock and roll in Philadelphia.
Hey, by the way, one of the many talented, ridiculously talented guys that's part of both In the Pocket and your bar band is Kenny Aronson, bass player extraordinaire, who, if all goes well, I'm going to be interviewing later this summer. Give our viewers 20 or 30 seconds on Kenny Aronson. Talk about rock and roll resume right there.
Well, he's really a legend. When I heard that he moved into the area, I was like, I got to meet this guy. And then we became fast friends. And then I invited him to be a part of In the Pocket. But listen, he played with Derringer. Rick Derringer's passed away, but I knew him first from playing with Rick Derringer in the band Derringer. But, the guy played with Bob Dylan. He played with Billy Idol, Sammy Hagar, Joan Jett. He was a Blackheart. He's done so much. And he's not only a great bass player, but he's a great pedal steel player. He's a great producer. He plays with me and Quentin Jones and Kenny in a band called QDK, which we're working on Quentin's record right now. It's been a lot of fun. And Kenny is, in 1980, Rolling Stone voted him the best bass player in rock and roll.
Wow.
That's quite an honor. And he lives up to that. He's brilliant.
He sure is. Hey, before the ITP show, as you mentioned, you and your fellow Hooters in the next few days, in fact, will be heading to Europe for a summer tour, a bunch of shows in Germany. You got a couple each in Switzerland and Sweden. And as you mentioned, your first ever show in Athens, Greece, a 6-week, 29 show tour. You ready for that, Dave?
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready. I mean, listen, I'm doing my push-ups. I'm getting myself ready. I guess it's a full-time gig, so I'm always playing. So I feel good going out there to play. And with those guys, since I haven't seen them in a bit, it's going to be a nice ride. Before I know it, it'll be over. But yeah, and going to Athens is going to be a total gas. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know how it came up, Dave, but when I saw you at 118 North for the bar band show, we were talking a little bit afterward, and you were mentioning how sad it was that a lot of rock and roll greats were leaving us. And then just last week, we got the word that both Brian Wilson and Sly Stone had passed, man. Couple of legends right there.
Two of my favorites too. I grew up, the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Stones and Pet Sounds was just such an amazing record. And Sly Stone was just so influential on me as a drummer from listening to the early Sly records that was like no one played funk or his brand of funk And he was a real visionary in music, a songwriter that it's timeless when you hear Sly and the Family Stone songs. You hear them, it's like timeless funk. And he was the originator of that. And everybody in that band were just amazing. So losing him and Brian Wilson the same week, lately, because I'm turning 70 this year, and like it seems like every week I get news about somebody going.
I hear
it's not fun, So I'm having a ball. It's like I'm excited about the tour. When I get back from the tour, I'm excited to go to Eagles training camp. I'm excited about that. Our world champion Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a great time to be in Philadelphia for sure.
Well, funny thing you mentioned that was going to be my last thing. As a long-suffering Philadelphia sports fan like me, how does it feel to be able to call the Eagles Super Bowl champions for a second time in 8 seasons?
I mean, how about that? Isn't that amazing? And the thing about it is, like, every year they've been in the mix. I mean, they could have won that. Listen, I got my theories, but we should have 3.
I know.
Well, listen, but they don't. So listen, I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I bleed green, and I'm really excited about the team this year. We lost some key components, but I think that there's so much talent on the team, and they all seem focused. And if we don't get there this year, we'll get there the following year. Jeffrey Lurie is a great owner. Howie's a great GM. We got a great coach, even though he drives me nuts sometimes. He seems to understand the culture and bring the culture to the Eagles. So it's great. And watching Saquon and Jalen and all the Jalens, and it's amazing, right? Wow.
Yes, sir. And hopefully we'll have another Phillies World Series too. Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be nice. Great.
Dave, if we stay on schedule, we're going to have another chat like this in 2028. I think we're on the every 3-year schedule.
Yeah, Chet, I love spending time with you. I love seeing at shows. I love to hang out with you. You're a sports guy and you love music. And when I found out you're a fan of Willie's, I went, he really, you're a real music fan. So it's cool to hang with you, man.
I've seen Willie 31 times. Not that I'm counting. Have a great time in Europe and enjoy the rest of your summer otherwise. And I'll see you in Ardmore in September.
See you then. Thanks, everybody. Go Birds. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Go Hooters. Tell you what, 45 years. Man, it just doesn't seem like that's possible.
Yeah, they formed in 1980. The first record came out, I think, in 82 or early 83. And they're still going and as popular as ever. And they're even more popular in Europe than they are in the States, it seems. And as I mentioned before the interview, it was announced just a couple of days ago that for the 10th straight year, the Hooters will do a couple of homecoming concerts at the Keswick Theater. It'll be October 24th and 25th with a public ticket sale beginning Friday morning. And by the way, the full interview with Dave, which is a few minutes longer, he talks about the origin of the Hooters, how he came to join the band in 1980. That'll be available on YouTube right after our show concludes tonight.
Very good. Good stuff. Hey, Chet, what could be better than a summer of Phillies baseball and tailgating with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Well, you got that right, Bill. Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up a terrific catering business for some 35 years. You know them for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates Jack Daniel's Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs does corporate events, parties, you name it. Of course, Cavs does host tailgates before all Eagles games outside the link, and there will be various tailgates outside Citizens Bank Park this summer, too. That includes one before the Phillies and Angels and Phillies Red Sox games in July, and ahead of an Orioles-Phillies game on August 6th. Of course, Cav will host a tailgate outside the link on September 4th before the Eagles-Cowboys season opener. And if you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And I should mention, Bill, that as we speak about the Eagles, we are now, 78 days? Yes, 78 days from the start of another Eagles season. That's September 4th game against the Cowboys. And I hope I can find the picture for the day. Yes, I can. 78 days from now reminds me of this guy, Carl Hairston.
Carl Hairston.
Big Daddy. Yeah, yep. Carl Hairston played 8 seasons for the Birds from 1976 to 83. the Dick Vermeil era and a year beyond that. He later coached the D-line of the Rams and Chiefs under Vermeil. How about that? Yep. 78 days from now, Bill.
There you go. Great player. Great player for sure. Hey, Chet, the Phillies have turned things around a little bit without Bryce Harper. Starting pitching's been fantastic. They're up 4-0, by the way, tonight. Bryson Stott with a 3-run homer.
Yeah.
And getting good pitching again from Ranger Suarez. The bats have come alive a little bit, taking some of the pressure off this suspect bullpen. There might even be a new closer in the making. What do you think of this whole thing and this whole bullpen? What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. It just kind of quietly happened the other day. We saw Romano come in like the 7th inning, I guess, on Monday, and that said, interesting. That made me say, interesting. And then, it was in fact Kerkering who got the closing job on Monday night, got the job done, 3 up, 3 down. So that was cool to see. For him, I don't know how Romano feels about it, but interesting. I still think it's going to be kind of a mix and match situation, though, and I still think they need another arm in the bullpen too.
They need a couple arms. Yeah. Strom's been giving up some runs.
He has.
Tyler Banks.
I'm not a fan.
Tanner Banks, I should say.
I always call him Tyler too. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It should be Tyler Banks.
Have the only 2 lefties they have. Strom's struggling a little bit. You mentioned Romano. Kerkering hasn't pitched that well. To have earned that spot. Maybe it's by elimination at this point. No, a little bit. But, I mean, I think if there's anything to still be worried about, it's the bullpen. Now, let me ask you something. Ranger Suarez pitching well again tonight has just been ridiculous here after his first start that wasn't so good. He is the free agent in the mix here. I ask you this, for an organization that thinks they now are loaded with starting pitching, is Ranger Suarez the trade piece that gets the closer or that shutdown bullpen guy?
There are so many things that go into that. For one thing, he's pitching great, as you said, so you don't want to take him out of the rotation. For another thing, he is going to be a free agent after this year unless they do something and re-sign him.
And they're going to have to pay him a fortune.
They are.
Or lose him.
They have a wealth of starting pitching, at least we think they do. And he's got an agent, Scott Boras, who would love to see him stay in the rotation to increase his trade value and or a new contract, especially a hefty new contract. So, boy, a lot of things to keep an eye on, especially between now and the end of July. If he's going to continue to pitch like this, I don't think you can trade him. I don't think you can. But remember what happened last year. He started 10-1, looked like a Cy Young winner, and then he started having back problems, and he was never great after that. He was pretty dismal, in fact, the second half of the year.
Yeah, well, and it's as you say, it's risky territory because we're assuming, a lot of people are assuming that Andrew Painter is going to come up here and get people out, and that's an assumption. It's a whole different league, and he struggled his last few outings at Lehigh Valley. Mick Abel has still pitched really well for the most part. Can he continue that? Is Aaron Nola coming back? There's a lot of question marks that if you do move one of those extra starters, if you will, do you then have enough?
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on this over the next month. We still have, another 6 weeks till the trade deadline. But, Bill, what about what happened the other night when Castellanos got taken out late in the game for, defensive reasons? Apparently he wasn't happy about it, mouthed off to the manager. We don't know the exact words, but there were probably a couple of curse words involved as he expressed his dissatisfaction with the move. He got benched for the following game, ending his, 236 game or whatever starting streak. He was probably not happy about that. Whose side are you on? Remember back in, 07 or whatever, when Jimmy Rollins didn't run out a couple of ground balls and Charlie benched him? We were all on the manager's side. Are we still on the manager's side here, Bill?
Well, first of all, it's a nothing burger. It's something for the media to grab onto. Stuff like this happens all the time. I'm going to say, without obviously knowing anything that happened, I'm on the manager's side.
I agree.
I think we know enough about Rob Thompson. I mean, if there's any criticism to Rob, is that, or one of his criticisms, is he seems to be too soft on the players. Well, he took a stand, and because, as he said, he crossed the line. So whatever that line was, and I'm sure Nick knew what that line was, and his emotions got him, and he probably said something he shouldn't have said. The manager did what he had to do. If he didn't, then he's got a problem in the clubhouse. The flip side of that, as we saw with John Tortorella, when you take Sean Couturier and you healthy scratch him, and the team went in the tank, and they haven't recovered yet. That's only been 2.5 years ago. So you got to be careful. But I'm with Rob Thompson on this, knowing as little as we know.
I agree. Hey, any reaction to the news that Zach Wheeler said he will be retiring after the 2027 season? So 2.5 more years of Zach, unless he changes his mind, of course.
Well, I mean, he's got all the money he needs.
Yeah,
certainly. He's going to make a run at the World Series a couple more times, and I think, I mean, we've talked about it. That window is going to close at some point, and in Zach's mind, maybe that's then in 2027. And if you're not going to win a World Series after that, and you're just pitching for the money when you already have more than you can spend, go hang out with your kids and your wife.
Yep. He's got 4 kids now, so.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I think I said about the window closing, I think it definitely is, which makes the whole Schwarber situation going into next season, whether you up him for 5 years or whatever. You've got Turner long haul, you've got Harper long haul. And speaking of Harper, what do you think of the way the team's playing without Harper?
They're playing like they don't miss him. So, of course they do. They'd rather have him in the lineup. But Otto Kemp has been, very good coming up from Lehigh Valley, filling in first at third base, now at first base, where he's definitely better. So, yeah, definitely the right move to move him to first base and have Bohm back at his third base position where he's more comfortable. But you do want to see Harper get back, certainly. And then when that happens, you probably keep Kemp on the roster and maybe send Weston Wilson packing yet again. But I haven't heard any kind of update on Harper other than he did not make the trip to Miami, presumably to, work hard at rehabbing and getting healthy again. Because as you know, Bill, big weekend series against the Mets. I don't know if Harper will be back for that, but either way, that's going to be a big 3 games.
Yeah, it is. And the Mets had their own meltdown last night. They blew a 4-0 lead in their bullpen and lost in the 10th inning. Bullpens are tough everywhere. They're hard to come by, and everybody kind of has the same problem. We obviously magnify ours because we watch them every night, but there's trouble everywhere.
Bill, do you think we can move our show again next week to another night?
Well, I think we're going to have to because somebody keeps making summer plans. So tell us, with Keith Pompey and Dave Uosikkinen tonight, great guess. Who's coming next Tuesday to Philly Pressbox Radio?
Yeah, I apologize, everybody, but I'm going to be out of town next week, Wednesday through Sunday, so I don't want to miss our show. I don't want to have to do it from another location. We're going to do the show Tuesday night.
You're like a rookie.
I know you do it from all over the country.
Just picking up and just taking it away.
Yeah. I like to be right here in my makeshift studio, and that's where we're going to do it Tuesday night before I leave. Well, next week, Bill, you're going to like this show on Tuesday night. Of course, we're going to talk more Phillies and more Sixers, too, because the draft will be happening the following couple of nights. But we will also, Bill, just for you, talk Flyers hockey. See, the NHL entry draft happens later next week, Friday and Saturday, and the Flyers have a whopping 7 picks over the first 2 rounds. They have 11 picks in total. So who better than this guy to talk with us about all of that?
JJ.
Jim Jackson. Yeah, the voice of the Flyers for some 30 years now, more than that even. We last talked with JJ just about 1 year ago when he, Lou Nolan, and Joe Watson joined us at the Irish Rover for our 500th show. We are at 553 now, Bill, by the way. So, yeah,
you're getting old.
JJ going to be here live next week.
Looking forward to that. Hey, Chet, we had such a good time last week with picking our toughest losses. Got a lot of feedback through the week on that as well. I'm going to give you and the viewers another homework assignment for next week. You up for it?
I'm always up for it, Bill. Anything.
All right. Well, here you go. And our listeners need to be paying attention. Our viewers need to be paying attention to this because we're going to need their feedback as well. We need to come up with our list of best Philly sports nicknames, Chet, in the last 50 years. Yes, Dr. J is a nickname. It can be included. Wilt the Stilt can be included. But then probably we don't go too far back past Wilt, you and I. So we'll shortlist it like we did last time. There are a ton of them. I've had them running through my head. Shoot, there are a ton of them that probably a lot of people already forgot about.
Yeah.
So what do you think? You up for that? I don't want to confuse
sure.
you and make you think too much.
And people, don't give us any right now. Save it for next week. We'll make a Facebook post about it a day or two ahead of time, promoting the show and mentioning this topic. Hey, I just mentioned Big Daddy, Carl Hairston, a few minutes ago. And hey, with Jim Jackson joining us on the show, I'm sure he'll be able to give us a bunch of them because hockey players love to give each other nicknames. We don't have to run through them, but the Flyers have a rich history of nicknames. And I'm going to make this proclamation right now, Bill. I better not hear anyone giving us the nickname Mr. Softy for a certain 76er center. That's off the table.
That's not really an official one, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
I don't think so.
We all know who you're talking about. That's for sure. Hey, speaking of nicknames, Chet, I'll throw this out. There's this guy named Bob. Bob is now a two-time Stanley Cup champion, two-time Vezina Trophy winner, possibly a third one coming. We let him go.
But we had Briz. He was going to be the big guy.
Well, I actually let me see if I can find this really fast because
that did not turn out very well. Apparently, Ed Snyder and even Paul Holmgren said we're having enough of Bob. That's it. Because even though Briz is a little out there, he's the guy we won in goal. Well, what happens? Bob is still around a dozen years later, winning Stanley Cups and Vezina trophies.
Well, here you go, Chad. I had to look this up, and I screenshotted this. The Flyers actually signed him in 2010 as a free agent.
Yeah.
Great finding, right?
Yeah.
He was undrafted. They traded him in June of 2012 to Columbus for a second-round draft pick, which became Anthony Stolarz. I think we just saw him a couple weeks ago, still playing goalie in the National Hockey League. Then they also got a fourth-round draft pick who was Tyler Lear. And then they got another draft pick named Justin Auger. That was the three guys they got for a possible Hall of Fame netminder 13 years later.
Yeah, just keep rubbing salt in the wound, Bill. Thanks for that.
Well, congratulations to the Florida Panthers. They played really well. They're a good hockey club.
Yeah, they did indeed. As I mentioned on Facebook last night, Bill, the state of Florida now has won 5 Stanley Cups over the last 22 years. Since 1975, meanwhile, the Flyers have won 0. The New York Rangers have won 1. But hey, Florida, a real hotbed for ice hockey.
Well, it's hot. Yes, it's very hot.
Yes, it is.
What else you got? Anything?
I got a couple other things.
Go ahead.
I'm looking for a picture here that I can add to the mix. I hate when that happens, when they just disappear, but let me see if I can find it. I can tell you one thing, Bill, and that is the fact that this coming weekend, I'm going to be out in Pittsburgh. Friday through Sunday, I will be in Pittsburgh for a little thing called the Monster Bash right here. It's run by an old friend of mine who I worked with in State College Radio back in the day. So he'll be there, and my old college roommate and best man for my wedding, as a matter of fact, John, will be joining me. So we're going to be at the Monster Bash in Pittsburgh. So that will be fun. And I want to say also a very happy 83rd birthday to Sir Paul McCartney, rocking 83 today. Ringo, by the way, will be 85 in a couple of weeks. And tomorrow, the great Ann Wilson of Heart turns 75, one of my favorite voices among ladies of rock and roll. So there's that. And I'll throw one more thing in, Bill, because I had the picture up, which you saw before we started the show. And that is the fact that this coming Friday, June 20th, happens to be the 50th anniversary of this movie, Jaws, hitting theaters. 50 years ago this week, Bill. I was there. I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times, and it'll be airing again this weekend. And then they're going to show it in IMAX on the big screen Labor Day weekend.
Very cool. 50 years, 45 years for the Hooters, 50 years for Jaws.
How does that happen?
I don't know. I have no idea. All
that's
right.
Enough. Wrap it
Let's
up,
wrap this thing up. Let's thank tonight's special guests, Keith Pompey and David Uosikkinen. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgates, PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Tuesday, June the 24th at 7 p.m. You see us live on Facebook or on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel and on the STT Sports Network YouTube channel, and listen on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans. Let's go, Phillies.
I hope he had